Welcome to The Daily Grind, a Bluff City Media daily podcast. Stepping up to the microphone is your host, Luke Hatmaker. Grab your favorite morning brew and let's get to the show.
Bye, 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 bye. I don't ever want to make it tough. I just want to tell you that I had enough. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Might sound crazy, TJ, ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. Welcome to the, you get the choreography, brother. You shoot boy bands. We got the best boy band right here on the Daily Grind. Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Luke Hatmaker. It's Saturday. You're not mistaken. I see you in the comments. It is not the weekday, but we needed to hop on the show after what happened yesterday, after we had the first, pardon my language, oh shit alert moment we've had in quite some time. Yeah. I texted my good pal, Dr. Buckets, Dr. Rusty. First of all, how are you, brother? I know you're probably in good spirits.
I am, yeah. You know, you don't want to celebrate another man's failures, but I definitely got some thoughts. I'm good. You know, I'm a little tired. I flew in last night. I spent the last couple of days in Atlanta, and I got delayed in Houston getting back. I flew in. My arms are a little tired, but I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I was like, give it to me. Give me an airplane pun. Give me a flying pun. I can't wait. So we just gonna jump right in. We don't got a lot of time today, so we just wanted to have a real quick talk on this. Grizzlies fired Taylor Jenkins out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere. It was just it was out of nowhere considering the timing of this thing. Just because we got 9 days left in the playoffs, that's it. It's just I don't think that anybody was surprised at the firing. Those of us who have been watching Grizzlies basketball for most of the season was that's bad grammar. I think we were all just like, oh, it was time, but was it? But it's like, wow, 9 months left. And there's been a lot coming out since this, like the Michael Cole's article with the commercial appeal. There's some stuff going out, but what's your initial gut thoughts on this thing?
You know, it's even got some of the purists in the final days were like, yeah, he's fighting an uphill battle. You know, they saw the writing on the wall. It has been downhill since the All-Star break. But if you really look historically, we've struggled in big moments. We've struggled against teams above 500. Don't look up our record against teams above 500 because it will hurt your feelings. But it was ugly. And so, yeah, the timing's a little bit weird. But is it, though? Like, you're heading into the playoffs. You're losing the locker room. You're losing. Clearly, there's some cracks in the foundation here. And so it's twofold, right? Now, if Taylor Jenkins goes on, or if the Grizzlies go on a deep playoff run, Isolo's your guy. Maybe the Grizz buy in and they play well under him. We'll find out. We have an opportunity to find out tonight against the Lakers. And then two, like you get to try out Isolo, right? In your Isolo, or we got to come up T.I., whatever we're going to call him, right?
I like T.I. I think T.I. is good. I think T.I. is good.
We go from T.J. to T.I., as the title says. I like that. Yeah. Well done. Now we get to try him out in some high stakes basketball and see what happens. We got 9 games left in the regular season plus the playoffs, and so we'll see. You know, the sample size is small. We beat the Lakers to sleep earlier this year when he was the interim head coach when TJ was out with some family issues. So initial gut reaction is it's the right move because clearly we've hit our ceiling and weren't really going any direction other than backwards for sure.
Yeah, and it's a forward momentum league, you know. God, a bug just flew behind me. I saw that in my camera. It scared the crap out of me. You got to have forward momentum. You got to be. It's propulsive by nature. It's you have to be moving forward. If you start moving backwards or even sideways, as was the case with, it seemed like TJ had just hit his ceiling. It looks like that's where we were. Which you mentioned, and I'm going to throw it up here. The Tomas Isolo, T.I., who has been named the interim head coach. I went ahead and just get that up there. The TJ was the only one that got fired. They also fired Andrew St. I always mess up his name. Andrew St. James.
Andrews. Yeah.
St. Andrews. And LaRoche, which from what it sounds like, it seems like with all the stuff that's come out, there might have been 2 schools of thought within the Grizzlies locker room. You had Isolo and you had LaRoche. From what it seems like it might have been both of their offenses that were being pulled from, and it seems like TJ was wary there was a great Athletic piece talking about how emotional Taylor was after he had to fire his 6 guys last season. It's really good, really, really good. And how it's like tears were shed. And it seems like it just seems there might've been some feelings about him having to get his guys out of there, having to bring in another guy's philosophy. And it just seems from all this stuff's coming out and I'm sure we'll hear more about it in terms of conversations, I should say, not anything bad that happened, but I imagine in the coming days we'll hear about more conversations. But it sounds like Taylor liked more LaRoche's system and was trying to implement that. Not so much Tomas, if I'm understanding correctly. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the spin that we've seen. Maybe I have my facts wrong. I thought it was the other way around, but what's coming out is Isalo is a high pick and roll guy, loves like a pick and roll with a big coming up from the post and setting the offense up for that. He likes a forward facing guard that's running downhill. That's kind of like the quarterback, right? And apparently it was LaRoche's system that's been this more offensive motion, kind of finding spaces and that type of stuff. And TJ kind of hung his hat more on that and went away from the pick and roll, went away from using Zach Edey. There's been some blame game between Zach Kleiman and Taylor Jenkins. We'll never truly know the full story. But it looks like TJ was mismanaging or mishandling Zach Edey comparatively to how Zach Kleiman initially pictured it at the draft. It makes sense that we drafted Edey for a high pick and roll usage, and then we weren't using him at all. And so, Luke, conversations were had. The players said that they were shocked. I don't believe that for a second. Like, you don't do something like this without having conversations with Ja and Jaren, especially Ja Morant. And so, the writing was on the wall. We had sputtered. We weren't, I think the offense is directly related to how bad the defense was. You just can't get set up. I saw something on Twitter yesterday, so I can't take full credit for this, but it's like when the spread offense hit college football, right? Like those teams would put up a ton of points, but they couldn't stop anybody because they were just score. And their defense had no time to catch their breath or get ready to go make plays. And so, we'll see, right? We will know a lot, if you're into reading the tea leaves, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. Ja Morant is now questionable for tonight's game against the Lakers. Marvin Bagley, the third, is now questionable for the game tonight. Is Gigi going to get called up before Monday's game against the Celtics? We'll see. The tea leaves are tea leaving. Let's just say that.
I completely agree. It doesn't. I don't have a. Let me look. I made a good pot of coffee this morning, so there's not very many grounds in this cup. But you like Harry Potter? Yeah, we're Harry Potter people. You remember in the third movie when they read the tea leaves and they're like the grim, and there's just all this stuff in the coffee cup, and they can see like the tea leaves. In my coffee, I see Ja Morant dunking the ball, and I see him playing. It's. I really liked your point of saying that there's no way that he didn't talk to the players because there's 9 games left in the season, dude. 9. That's crazy. Like if you don't think Kleiman was like, listen, guys, you got what? There's gonna be 9 games left. Like, it's actually not up for shut up time. Pardon my language. Like we're gonna see what we got because if this change happened with 9 games left in the season, to me it would signal that there's more change possibly coming. And it's like make sure that I don't know. I would just be like, go out there and play. Not like your job depending on it, but Chris Vernon tells the great story about when he came in after Hubie Brown got hired, and Hubie Brown was saying, hey, all these guys just had to sell their homes. They're leaving, this whole coaching staff. You can tell them these guys need to play like other people's jobs depend on it because they do now. Like everybody's, and I excuse me, I'm getting choked up thinking about this. Thinking about the last 9 games, like what do you want to see out of Tomas, like with these guys? Because it does seem like with the timing, Kleiman was like, look, I'm making a change at the end of the season no matter what, based on we got 4. There's a chance we could drop 4 of the next. There's 5 home games left, 4 of them in a row. We could drop 3 of those 4.
It's not it's not pretty, right? Real quick, I want to see I want to see, can Tomas install, like it's probably too late to completely revamp the entire offensive system with 9 games to go, but I think you can go back to what makes your point guard great, and that's creating space for him with a guy who's Zach Edey, who's 7 foot forever and wide hips, who can step out there and screen. Like I said in the group chat yesterday, I need that man screaming at Sam's and Costco and at the car dealership and walking down the street. Like, he just needs to screen everybody. And so I think we need to see what he can do, what tweaks he can make. I do feel like this is very much a tryout for him, for sure. I'm sure we'll talk more about other coaching candidates here in a minute. But Luke, I do want to talk a little bit and get your opinion on what about like the national narrative, right? The national media has been blistering the Grizzlies for the last 12 hours since it happened, right? What are your thoughts on what's coming out?
It signals to me that people don't watch small market teams.
Exactly.
Because it's just like the narrative of this firing, it's just completely like the Grizzlies are in the thick of the playoff race. What's happening? It's like, that tells me that you looked up the app and you pulled up the standings and you looked at the standings and you're like, oh, this team that's 5th fired their coach. You haven't watched the game. You don't know what's happened mid. And I get it, because if you just take all the narratives at face value, the Grizzlies, who are in the thick of the playoff race, just hired the 5th longest tenured coach in the league, you know, and their most winningest head coach. Like, optically and logistically, it might look confusing and be like, what? But anyone that's watched the full 4 quarters of Grizzlies basketball all season knew that this was coming. If not, at the end of the season, I think we've all been on the same page where it's like, change has got to come at the end of the season. It's coming.
Sure. And it makes sense, that like we don't want to run, we don't want to run the risk of Taylor, making some miracle happen and getting deep in the playoffs and then not being able to fire him. So the timing from that standpoint makes sense. Also, like, we just continue to do the same things, right? I know it's Oklahoma City. They're probably going to beat us anyway, but we played Jaren, and it pulled him out with like 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. And I understand how basketball works. I used to play. I know you got to get rest here and there, but the Thunder immediately go on an 8-0 run and just bury us. And it's just like the timing was quite poor, and just continue to make those same issues. How many games have we had where we've had 2 or 3 really good quarters, but that one quarter just sinks us from a rotation standpoint, from a matchup standpoint, from a momentum standpoint. Luke, I was in the building when John Morant got called for an 8-second backcourt, an 8-second violation against the Knicks, and literally everybody was screaming timeout, but Taylor was a spectator like the rest of us. And so just little things like that. Yes, ultimately players do win you basketball games, but there are moments where coaches can help with that, putting players in a position to succeed, call a timeout when it's needed. And if you watch the Grizzlies, like you said, for more than, the 5th seed fired their coach, then you would know that this was not a shock. But again, I didn't realize we had so many casuals in NBA media.
Man, that part was almost as astounding as the firing itself, was just to see all of the outpouring of people who just don't watch the Grizzlies, which is fine. It's fine. I don't expect everyone to watch our team, but at the same time, it's like, oh my God, guys, like, and the real ones, the people that actually watch Grizzlies game, they see this fire and they're like, look, I get it. I get it. Anybody that's watched some actual basketball of the Grizzlies, they get it.
Taylor's going to land on his feet, and these people will be vindicated. Look, Taylor Jenkins is immediately the new head coach of the Spurs or the Hawks or whatever team is trying to develop. Yeah, maybe. But like, do you really think after watching Taylor Jenkins struggle with Zach Edey, not know what to do, that he's going to be able to unlock Joel Embiid late in his career? Like, he's going to land at a team that needs development. Otherwise, the Wizards, the Spurs. I feel like the Spurs are a match made in heaven for him. They got young talent that needs to be developed, and that's what he does.
And he's from that organization. He came up in that system.
That's it. But he's not the guy that's going to be able to get a team over that next hump. He's always going to be just a developmental guy, and we need guys like that in the league. I appreciate Taylor Jenkins and what he did to get us to this point, but we're going to need somebody to get us to that next point, right? He can develop people, but he can't unlock players, and that's where we got to.
Yeah, I mean, there was a reason he was he was the longest, he was the most winningest Grizzlies head coach. He'd done that in his 6 seasons, but he was also the longest tenured head coach that hadn't won a championship. And I think it was very clear that he had hit his ceiling. It's like there's developmental coaches and there's over the hump coaches, and both are really, really good and both have their places in the league, and he's just a performer, and that's fine.
Yeah.
At least with this team,
That's it. Maybe just a new voice is needed, right? Like, and historically, teams that fire their coach go out and win the next game. Goons already brought up in the comments the last time Isalo was the coach of the Grizzlies.
I'm so behind in the comments. I'm so sorry.
All good. Yeah, it's the top of my list there. We beat to sleep the Lakers 131 to 114. It was like game 10 of the season. And so people are asking.
The minutes were distributed really well in that game too.
That's what I'm saying. And so, this is a question. Does he truly have the ear of the players? Is he proven enough to be able to go to Ja Morant and get Demon Ja back? Is he enough to be able to get Jaren over the hump and back to all NBA caliber type play? I don't know, but we're going to find out. We're going to learn today.
We're going to learn.
It's going to start today because, like you said, I think we're going to see a much more even minutes distribution. The number one lineup that he used was Desmond Bane was out this game. It was early when he was still dealing with that oblique injury. The lineup that had the most minutes that night was Ja, Jalen, Santi at the 3, Jaren at the 4, Zach Edey at the 5. He likes size. He likes length. He likes to be able to clog passing lanes, and that's what those guys do. I'm curious what he's going to do tonight with a full arsenal. Do we still see Jalen Wells? Do we see more Santi Aldama? Yeah, so
let's jump into the game tonight, just briefly, because there is a game tonight. I normally title the episodes after that if there's a game happening. I'm like, easy game day, and today I was like, you know what, I'm not doing it because I forgot there was a game happening.
Right,
but I think it's pretty interesting that the Grizzlies are hosting the LA Lakers, and that was the last time that Tomas played them and beat the doors off of them and had a really good. It was just a good looking game. Like a good looking use of our personnel, a proper use of our an optimal use. Pick your word. I died laughing, man. I died laughing when it was like not 20 minutes. Man, that's not true. Within the hour of Taylor Jenkins of the Grizzlies PR saying that Taylor Jenkins was getting fired, we get an update to Ja Morant's questionable after being listed day to day. Which, and in this organization, if you're questionable, you're playing. That is so funny to me because it's not. I think we can all agree that Ja Morant didn't make any calls. I mean, from what we can tell, Ja really liked Taylor. I don't think he was like, get this man up out of here. But it's really funny.
But that's the biggest indictment I think that there is. Anthony Sain has said on his show, like, Taylor is the fun uncle or the stepdad, right? That lets you stay up and eat pizza and play video games all night. There was absolutely no discipline. You can see that, right? And so, if Ja was truly protesting, I'm not saying that he was, maybe he was, he's truly protesting. I don't love that, like being a grown man, play basketball. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, your system has changed so much that your superstar can't rock. And if you can't rock with Ja, we're not going to go anywhere. This team clearly, I don't know how many examples we need to see this season of, if we don't get Ja Morant going, this team's going to sputter. Jaren carried us, super well. Dez has carried us in stretches. Like, we've had guys that have stepped up and played, but this is still Ja Morant's team. He is, he's a superstar. He is the guy, the motor that makes this engine run. And so, I think this is going to be, as Wayno has said, a big middle finger to Taylor Jenkins if Ja Morant plays, and especially plays at a high level, right? I'm not trying to say some type of way. I know, hashtag Ask Dr. Buckets is a thing, but I was at that Cavs game and I watched Ja Morant drop 44 that night, and his hamstring looked just fine walking on the floor.
Yeah, I've always asked your opinion on all these injuries because I don't know diddly, but didn't ask your opinion on that one because I was like, I don't think that anything happened. Like, you were at the game. I was like, I'm good.
I'm the Kermit the Frog meme now, right?
Yes.
None of my business.
None of my business. It's so great. Something that's really interesting about a firing happening right before a game is I have no idea what to expect tonight, to be perfectly honest. And
I love it. I kind of love it
too. I love it too. I'm just like, you know what? It looks like we're gonna have. It's like blank slate. We drafted board games earlier this week. We didn't draft blanks. Did we draft? I don't know if we drafted blank slate. That's a great board game. But our slate's clean. And you know what? For 9 games, it's pretty exhilarating. Even if it's to know that you have a 9-game runway to kind of try stuff out and see what happens, and to know that you're still going to the playoffs. You know, like mathematically, I know we're not. God, I'm going to knock on all the wood. I got wood out here. I know mathematically we're not eliminated yet, but it would have to be an absolute torpedoing of epic proportions on our part and an absolute magnificent performance by everyone behind us for us to fall out of the playoffs. Yeah. So it's like, you know what? You got 9 games to try some shit. Pardon my French. And the playoffs are still there. It's kind of nice. Try it.
Yeah. And I'm here for it, right? Let's give Isalo a shot. Let's see what T.I. can do, right? And if he's the man and we go, even if, look, we got 9 games, even if we go like 6-3 with the brutal schedule that we have ahead of us, let's say, you know, we beat the Lakers tonight, but we lose to the Thunder Boston and the Warriors next week, right? You can still rattle off a pretty strong finish to the season, right? You go 6-3 over your final games. That's good enough to keep you in that 4-5 matchup. Obviously, that depends on what teams around you do. But even 6-3 over this final stretch is going to be marked improvement over what we've seen. We're 5-5 in our last 10. John Morant's yet to play more than 6 games in a row. Is that because of minutes distribution, restriction, protest, injury? I don't know. There's an opportunity here for upward basketball because what we've been playing has been stagnant and regressing. Like, here's our chance to cause an upswing, right? You fired a coach. You've got a new jolt, new burst of energy in the team. Maybe we go on a run into the playoffs. And if we don't, we see that T.I. doesn't have the ear of the players, and we can start the coaching search in the offseason. You
know what? That's called a transition, because who's the next guy? I mean, like that's if it's not Tomas, and it does seem like for the time being, Kleiman is backing him. Seems like he is. It seems like we know which side he's on. Oh, my dog agrees.
Pulling a Shelby over there. It seems very obvious what Kleiman wants to do. It feels like he hired his coach last summer, and if that's the case, I'm gonna rock with him. Like, I'm gonna be 100% all in on T.I. Just like when we brought in Taylor Jenkins and David Fizdale and Dave Yeager and Lionel Hollins. Like, when these guys get hired, like with Zach Edey, right? I sat right here in this chair with this same background back at the NBA draft and was like, I didn't want Zach Edey, but he's a Grizzly now, ball up top. And that's how I'll be. But for me, like, I like T.I., but I personally, we're at the point where, to me, we need a coach who has that pedigree, that experience, whether that's a player like a Sam Cassell or Damon Stoudemire, who's been there. You know, Damon has been an assistant here for the Grizzlies. He played for the Grizzlies, currently the head coach at Georgia Tech. Sam Cassell is an assistant at Boston and has been around the league. You know, he's a known commodity. Or, Kendarius, we rarely agree on anything, but Mike Brown's not a bad option either. Frank Vogel's out there. Like, there's coaches with pedigree, championship pedigree that could take this team to the next level if it's not T.I. You know, we didn't know what we had. You know, there's been coaches that have come up from an assistant coach and been world beaters, right? Like, who was Mike Malone? Who were some of these guys before they became great coaches? Maybe we have that in T.I. I still lean on the side that we need an experienced guy, but that's just my humble, uneducated opinion. Luke, what do you think? What say you? Do we need do we promote within, or do we go outside the pod?
I think we go outside the pod. I mean, if we find, I mean, if Isalo wins and rattles off 9 wins and we win a playoff series, then I'll probably be singing a different tune. But you named some guys that I really like. I love the fact that I don't think this guy will get the good job, but the fact that Jason March is still here on this staff, I love. I really love that dude is still here.
Just sticking with it, man.
Sticking with it. And I like Anthony Carter a lot. But I think the pedigree, as Triple H's finishing move was the pedigree. I think that the pedigree is something that this team and this personnel, this group of guys needs. I think they need that at this point.
Yeah. You know, T.I., you look a lot like Tomas Isalo, right? Like, you're a nice guy. Y'all are nice guys. Like, Taylor was a nice guy. I don't need a nice guy, right? I don't need an asshole like Lionel Hollins was, but I need somebody that's going to look John Morant in the eye and say, hey, you're not getting the calls. It's time to man the F up.
Yep.
Jaren, quit being out at the 3-point line, get in the paint and dominate. You're getting buckets on Chet in the paint. Get in the paint. Zach, what are you doing? Go set the high screen. Like, I need somebody that's going to look these dudes in the face, grab a collar or two, spittle, hoot and holler and yell, right? Like, I don't need somebody that's going to be, a Thibodeau that's just a hard edge guy, but I need somebody that's going to instill some discipline in this team, because it's very clear that the students are running the classroom right now. And I need somebody that's going to step in and be the adult in the room, right? Like
a firm hand,
That's it. Like, again, the players ultimately are going to win basketball games, but coaches can set you up for success by creating a culture of discipline, of high level accountability. High level of accountability is what we need going forward. That makes me nervous about T.I. Can he do that? Maybe. He was successful overseas. I've seen all these great clips of him talking X's and O's. So clearly he knows his stuff. But look, can he be that disciplined, culture setting guy?
Because I just think that's what we need. Coming off an excellent X's and O's coach is another excellent X's and O's coach really what we need. We're going to find it in the next 9 games, and if this is going to be a desirable job, I would imagine, if I'm a head coaching candidate. I would want, I don't know. You get to go coach John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Sound pretty cool.
I mean, that ain't bad. You know what I'm saying?
Bad.
Like that's it. Like, I don't think there are probably a handful of dudes on this planet that if you say, hey, you get an opportunity to coach John Morant coming into his prime, that are going to say no to that, right? Because like our guys are 25, 26 years old. Most historically players win their first championship around 27, 28. So we're like, again, our championship window is opening. It's like I said yesterday on Twitter, like I think Zach Kleiman sees that our window is starting to open. And I don't think that we're going to roll with mediocrity anymore, right? We're about to pay Jaren Jackson Jr. a lot of money. We're about to have a lot of money tied up in 3 dudes. And maybe we move one of them this summer. I'm not going to name names, to go after, an offensive wing or somebody, maybe we go pursue somebody to make this team better. You don't want to continue to do that with a coach that's reached his peak.
Yep. And man, we've been asking for Kleiman to get serious for a while. And when the rest of the Western Conference has been getting serious, he finally made this is a serious move. This is a move that you realize you have to be serious with what you have, or what you have isn't working.
Yep. And so TJ, Ja, and Zach Kleiman came to this team at the same time, right?
Yep.
And there's 3 things that happen, right? You fire your staff, you fire your coach, and then the GM is let go. Zach Kleiman's seat is not even starting to get worn. Robert Pera barely pays attention. We're just a line item in his P&L. And so I don't think Zach Kleiman is anywhere close to getting fired, but he has to nail this hire. That's the other thing, right? Like, you've had your guy now. This is your shot. You came in with TJ. Y'all been together for 5-6 seasons now. Like, now is the time to make a culture-defining, franchise-altering decision. If you hit this just right, we're talking about a championship parade in Memphis in the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
If not, we're right back in these seats, Luke, on an early Saturday morning after a red-eye flight back from Houston. We're not getting in my bed till 12:30, talking about who's going to be our next GM, because this is this is the moment, right? Zach, yep. I'm still all in. I believe in Zach Kleiman. I think he's done a lot of things really well. I think it is, but now it's nut cutting time, as you said earlier, right? Like it's time. It's on the chopping block, and let's see what you got. Am I right?
Well said, brother. Well said. I let's leave it at that, because I don't want to have a conversation about the GM. I want this all to go right. I want us.
We're gonna win. T.I.'s gonna win. It's gonna from here. It's all sunshine and fluffy rabbits going forward.
Fluffy rabbits. I love it. That's going to do it for our show today, y'all. Thank you for hopping in on Saturday. Thank you for the comments. I got behind right out of the gate, so I missed all of them. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for popping. Go watch the game tonight. Let's support this iteration of the team, this new iteration of the Grizzlies. I'm going to watch. Hopefully we whoop that Laker butt. If we can leave you with anything today on this lovely Saturday, remember these 2 things. We'll run. Rusty, go get some sleep. And 2, remember to be a little weird, just a little bit, and remember to smile. Bye, guys. Have a good day. We'll see you on Monday.